Hello and welcome back to our channel where we gather to discuss the ever-twisting narratives of our favorite daytime drama. Today is a wonderfully bright Tuesday, a perfect time to pour a cup of warm tea, settle into your favorite armchair, and unravel the incredibly dark and fascinating web currently spinning through the grand halls of the Quartermaine Mansion. Let us dive right into the heart of Port Charles. For decades, we have watched the Quartermaine family engage in ruthless corporate takeovers, bitter inheritance disputes, and legendary screaming matches in their opulent living room. Yet, the current storyline unfolding before our eyes feels uniquely sinister because it involves a profound corruption of the younger generation. We recently witnessed a truly shocking altercation where the formidable Tracy, driven by her fierce protective instincts over her family and the delicate situation surrounding baby Phoebe's adoption, physically and verbally attacked Willow. It was a visceral, desperate moment for Tracy, a woman who has always believed that the end justifies the means when it comes to safeguarding her loved ones. But the true horror of this scene was not the confrontation itself. Rather, it was the chilling presence of Michael lurking in the shadows. Instead of stepping forward to intervene, to protect the mother of his children, or to de-escalate a volatile situation, Michael remained perfectly still. He pulled out his smartphone and quietly recorded every single second of Tracy's violent outburst. The cold, calculated nature of this act sent a shiver down my spine, signaling a terrifying shift in Michael's moral compass. As longtime viewers, we have literally watched Michael grow up on our screens. We remember the sweet, vulnerable boy who suffered so much trauma. And for years, we hoped he would lean into the noble, philanthropic legacy of his adoptive father, AJ, or the gentle wisdom of his great-grandparents, Edward and Lila. However, this secret recording confirms our deepest fears. Michael has fully embraced the dark, ruthless DNA of his mob boss father, Sonny. By choosing to weaponize this video rather than turning it over to the authorities or using it to genuinely help Willow, Michael has crossed a line from which he may never return. He is no longer the righteous hero fighting against the criminal underworld. He has become the very monster he once despised. He is utilizing classic mob extortion tactics, trading physical violence for psychological warfare, and he is doing it against his own family. It is a heartbreaking evolution to witness, but as a television critic, I must admit it makes for incredibly compelling, edge-of-your-seat drama. The sheer audacity of Michael's blackmail scheme is breathtaking in its cruelty. He approaches Tracy not with a plea for understanding, but with a devastating ultimatum that threatens to obliterate her entire world. Michael demands that Tracy become his unwilling accomplice in a plot to systematically destroy Brook Lynn's marriage to Chase. He wants Tracy to actively push Chase away from her own granddaughter and directly into the waiting arms of Willow. If Tracy refuses to comply with this twisted demand, Michael promises to release the video of her attacking Willow to the internet and the press. He knows exactly which buttons to push, making it explicitly clear that this public scandal would not only result in criminal assault charges and potential prison time for the aging matriarch, but it would also completely ruin the Quartermaine family's reputation. More importantly, and most devastatingly, it would instantly terminate Brook Lynn and Chase's chances of finalizing the closed adoption of baby Phoebe. Michael is holding an innocent child's future hostage to achieve his own vindictive goals. One can only imagine the profound psychological agony Tracy is experiencing in the wake of this blackmail. Tracy is a woman who has spent her entire life outmaneuvering corporate titans, scheming against her own siblings, and fiercely guarding the Quartermaine empire. She is not a woman who is easily intimidated or backed into a corner. Yet, as she looks into Michael's cold, unyielding eyes, she experiences a horrifying realization. She sees the ghost of Sonny staring back at her, wrapped in Quartermaine clothing. She realizes that Michael possesses a level of emotional detachment and cruelty that even she, with all her legendary ruthlessness, cannot match. The absolute shock of being outplayed by her own grandnephew, a young man she likely underestimated, leaves Tracy completely paralyzed. she is forced to swallow her immense pride and accept that she has been checkmated. Watching Jane Elliott navigate this complex mixture of fury, defeat, and terrifying vulnerability is a masterclass in daytime acting, reminding us why she has been a cornerstone of this show for so many years. The tragic irony of Tracy's predicament is almost Shakespearean in its execution. To protect her granddaughter's future with baby Phoebe, Tracy must actively participate in the destruction of that very granddaughter's marriage. She is forced to become a pawn on Michael's dark chessboard, moving exactly as he dictates. We must ask ourselves, how will Tracy manage this impossible task? She will have to subtly undermine Brook Lynn, perhaps planting seeds of doubt in Chase's mind, or creating situations where Willow and Chase are forced into intimate proximity. Every lie she tells, every manipulation she orchestrates will eat away at her soul because she knows she is betraying the granddaughter she loves so fiercely. The internal conflict Tracy must endure is staggering, and it adds layers of exquisite tension to every scene she shares with Brook Lynn and Chase, as she hides the crushing weight of Michael's blackmail behind her signature biting sarcasm. Meanwhile, we must critically examine Willow's role in this unfolding tragedy. For years, Willow has been portrayed as the moral center of her generation, a former teacher and nurse whose angelic facade often masked her own deep insecurities. However, the current storyline is stripping away that facade to reveal a deeply flawed and opportunistic woman. Instead of rejecting Michael's toxic machinations or standing up for the sanctity of marriage, Willow is actively leaning into this chaotic opportunity to reclaim Chase. She is allowing herself to be positioned as the tempting alternative, utilizing the space Tracy is being forced to create. This raises a fascinating question about Willow's true character. Has she always harbored this selfish streak, or has the trauma of her illness, her complicated history with Nina, and her proximity to the Corinthos family finally corrupted her? Her willingness to build her own happiness on the ashes of Brook Lynn's life demonstrates a shocking lack of empathy and a desperate need for validation that makes her an incredibly polarizing figure for us viewers. At the center of this swirling vortex of manipulation stands Chase, a man who is tragically, almost painfully oblivious to the dark forces conspiring against him. Chase is a dedicated detective, a man trained to uncover the truth, yet he cannot see the massive deception happening right inside his own home. He is currently celebrating the seemingly positive news regarding Phoebe's closed adoption, believing that his and Brook Lynn's dreams of building a family are finally coming true. The dramatic irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. Every time Chase smiles at Tracy, thanking her for her support, or every time he shares a seemingly innocent, friendly moment with Willow, we as the audience want to scream at our television screens. We know that he is being expertly maneuvered, that his trust is being weaponized against him. Chase represents the pure, uncorrupted heart of this storyline, which makes his inevitable heartbreak all the more dreadful to anticipate. But the true victim of this elaborate, cruel scheme is undeniably Brook Lynn Quartermaine. When we take a step back and look at the sheer magnitude of what Brook Lynn stands to lose, it is genuinely breathtaking. She is currently carrying the immense, crushing guilt of being the hit-and-run driver who injured Jordan Ashford, a secret that is already tearing her apart from the inside. Now, she is facing a multi-front war that she doesn't even know she is fighting. If Michael's plan succeeds, Brook Lynn will lose everything that anchors her to this world. She will lose her beloved grandmother, either to the cold confines of a prison cell or to the absolute disgrace of a public scandal that would permanently tarnish the Quartermaine legacy. She will lose the husband she fought so hard to marry, watching helplessly as Chase is manipulated back into the arms of his former love, Willow. And most agonizingly of all, she will lose baby Phoebe, the child she is desperately trying to adopt and protect. The psychological toll this impending devastation will take on Brook Lynn is almost unfathomable. Brook Lynn has always been a fighter, a woman who uses her sharp wit and Quartermaine cunning to navigate the world. But this is not a simple corporate dispute or a minor romantic misunderstanding. This is a systematic dismantling of her entire life, orchestrated by her own cousin and facilitated by her own grandmother. When the truth inevitably comes to light, because in Port Charles the truth always claws its way to the surface, the sense of betrayal will be absolute. Brook Lynn will realize that the people she trusted most were the architects of her ruin. The guilt she feels over the accident will compound with the grief of losing her family, creating a perfect storm of emotional agony that could push her to the very brink of sanity. However, as longtime fans know, you can never truly count a Quartermaine out. When Brook Lynn hits rock bottom, when she is stripped of her husband, her child, and her family's protection, we are going to witness the birth of a terrifying new force in Port Charles. The profound sorrow and betrayal she experiences will inevitably curdle into a deep, unquenchable hatred. Brook Lynn will no longer be the spunky, sometimes misguided young woman trying to find her way in the music industry. She will become a hardened, ruthless adversary forged in the fires of Michael's cruelty and Willow's opportunism. She will realize that playing by the rules only leaves you vulnerable, and she will begin to utilize the darkest aspects of her Quartermaine heritage to exact her revenge. I anticipate that her retaliation against Michael and Willow will be methodical, brilliant, and utterly devastating, setting the stage for a family feud that will echo through the decades.